My name is Reed Yobe. There's a video that I released. In that video, I was talking about lamentations of Zimbabweans living in the diaspora. There is a lot that I would like to talk about as far as life of Zimbabweans living in the diaspora is concerned, but we're gonna talk about one thing at a time. In this video, I would like to talk about the life of Zimbabweans living in South Africa. There is something specific that I would like to talk about regarding the life of Zimbabweans living in South Africa. The main purpose of this video is to create awareness. I want people back home to fully understand exactly what is going on, because there is a misunderstanding. There is a misunderstanding between especially relatives and friends that happen to be some in Zimbabwe and some in South Africa. And the people in Zimbabwe have got their own assumptions as far as life in South Africa is concerned, of which these assumptions are wrong. But people that once lived in South Africa and went back home, they have a clear picture of exactly how life in South Africa is like. There are people that are in Zimbabwe that would like to visit their relatives and friends in South Africa. Some would like to come and stay here for good. Some would like to come to South Africa and work. And they send messages or call their relatives and friends who are in South Africa to say, we want to come over and pay you a visit. We want to come over and stay with you, or we want to come over and work. We want to come and work in South Africa. But they don't know the difficulties that people that are living in South Africa are facing. They don't know the difficulties that people that are living in South Africa are facing. Even if they are told, they still don't believe. Everyone is hopeful and they think they can just come to South Africa anytime to visit, stay, or work. But this affects the people living in South Africa to a certain extent in a negative way, I shall explain. And also, it's not easy to get a job, as most people think. And there are things that are required for people to work in South Africa. And if someone is to be told about these requirements, they may think that maybe their relative or friend in South Africa doesn't just want them to come and work in South Africa, or maybe they don't want to offer them accommodation while they're looking for a job. First and foremost, majority of people that are living in South Africa, they are struggling. Life in South Africa is not easy. Maybe it used to be easy, but not now. It's not. Now it's not. I'm talking about 2024. And let me give you the dates so that you never know. There could be a turnaround in the economy and how things are like in South Africa. So I must tell you that I'm recording this video in 2024, so that maybe 5 years from now, if things change and one is to get out of this video, they will understand that it was recorded in 2024. Accommodation itself in South Africa is very expensive. I don't care whether you're living in the high density suburbs or you're living in the low density suburbs. Accommodation is very expensive, especially in places like Cape Town. Accommodation is very expensive. So people pay rent, they buy electricity, and they pay for water. And you also need to allocate money for transport. That is, if you're working, you need money for transport every month. You need transport for the whole month. And taxi fares are very expensive as well. Some people use 2 or 3 taxis in a day just for them to arrive at work. And then they're left to do the same thing again to go back home. And try to imagine doing this every day for the whole month. You also need to buy food and some basic commodities. You must also have a funeral policy. You must have a funeral policy where you'll be paying money every month, because anything can happen. You may die, and you don't want a situation whereby when you are gone, your friends have to make contributions in order to repatriate your body back home. And it's not everybody that can afford a funeral policy. And I've had a number of cases, and these things are still happening right now. Even as I'm speaking, probably somewhere, there are people that are busy trying to contribute some funds so that they can repatriate the body of a friend back home, because they didn't have a funeral policy, and they don't even have assets that people can sell in order for them to have money to send the body of the dead back home. So life itself is just very expensive. It's very expensive to live here in South Africa. And for those who are working, like I said, majority of them are living from hand to mouth with no savings at all. And then for you to receive a call or a message from your loved one saying they want to come, and you would love for them to come, but at the same time you can't do it, and you find yourself between a rock and a hard place. You so much want the person to come, but you can't say yes because you can't afford it. It's hard. Majority of people say yes when people make such requests, not necessarily because they want to. They want to not necessarily because they can, but they are afraid of disappointing their loved ones. They are afraid of what their relatives and friends will think if they turn them down. Right now, as I'm speaking, there could be some people that are not in talking terms right now. Someone is very upset, and because they think that their relative doesn't want them to come over to South Africa and work, or just to visit them. But what they don't know is that their relative or friend is going through a very difficult and tough time, because life in South Africa It's not easy. The person is struggling to survive. There are people that borrow money every month just for them to be able to finish it off. And then when they get paid, they have to pay back all the people that they are owing. It's like a cycle. And then they're left with nothing. Then they must borrow again. And at the same time, there's a relative that is sending a message saying to them, I want to come over and work. I just told you that accommodation is very expensive. And people live in places that the owners of those places, the landlords, are very strict. People live in houses where they are given the number of people that they should stay with. There are places where people live where they don't like visitors. Visitors are not allowed. And you're told, and it's written in your contract, that no visitors. In some other places where they may allow you visitors, but it is going to affect your rent. Your rent will go up if you add someone to stay with. And electricity and water will go up as well. The amount of money that you pay for electricity, the amount of money that you pay for water will go up. And the rent itself might even go up because you're now staying with someone. And remember, it is not only the rent, the electricity, and the water that is going to go up, but you're also going to spend more as far as the basic commodities are concerned. And let's not forget that you are struggling. You're actually struggling, living from hand to mouth. And there's a friend or a relative that is saying, I want to come over to South Africa to work. And one thing that they don't know is that when they come over to stay with you, they cannot walk to places where they'll be looking for jobs, but they will need money for transport. And you must provide that money because they are just coming. And the other thing that people just get to know when they come here, and some of them, you tell them, well, is they at home, but they don't believe you, and you end up just saying to them, come anyway. The other thing that they don't know, some of these people, is that you must be documented. You must be documented. You must have either an asylum or a permit on your passport. And if you don't have those two, you cannot get a job. You can't get a job. I don't care how skilled you are. I don't care how good you are at what you're doing. But if you don't have a permit or if you don't have an asylum, you cannot work. So when the person comes over, that will become another struggle. And they start running around again, trying to get help from some of these places where there are lawyers that can give you assistance. But it's very difficult to get yourself documented. So my advice to someone that is in Zimbabwe right now, that would like to come and work in South Africa, the first thing that you must do is you must find out the list of the critical skills that are required in South Africa, and you must work on trying to have one of those skills. And once you have the skills, you must go to the embassy there in Zimbabwe, South African embassy, and then you apply for a permit while you're still there. That's what the law says. You apply for the permit while you are still there. Then you may get your permit and come over. But still, remember the struggles that some people go through when they're here in South Africa. But that might make things a little bit easy if you at least just show up with a document. Maybe you may be quick to get a job, and maybe you may end up helping out your relatives and your friends. So I'm just sending this message out, pleading with people that are back home to be more understanding and less judgmental when it comes to their relatives and their friends that are living in South Africa. I want you to know that they love you. If it was within their control to make it happen, they were going to bring you over. But they are struggling. And they are also, to a certain extent, trying to save you from going through the same struggle, because you may come and make their lives more difficult, but at the same time, yours will also be difficult, because without a document, getting a job might be very difficult. So this is what I just thought of sharing with you. I hope this helps someone. My name is Reed Yobe.